Hello people of YouTube, it's Deepak here, and welcome to DCS World 2.8.3 and Razbam Sim's AV8B Harrier module. Today we're going to take a look at 5 tips that I have for operating the Harrier. These are things that people may or may not know, but I think that they are quite handy, quick, condensed tips for ways in which to operate the aircraft a little bit more effectively. So let's jump straight into there. Actually, I've got a bonus one for you. This one's kind of very, very unimportant. But when your pilot has the the night vision goggles, detached, so you can go into ground crew, change helmet mounted device, and you have the option to set up the visor or set up NVG. If you're in setup visor and you don't have the night vision goggles, when you press the night vision goggles button, he puts down his visor. And this is really good in multiplayer because it signals to other people your coolness level. Just look at that. Much nicer with the with the visor down. Oh, actually, I just noticed something else as well. For some reason, the livery that I normally have on the aircraft doesn't have my pilot patches. Let's have a quick look here. If I actually choose my one. Yeah, there we go. There we go. Now I've got my patches on it. Very important. Got my name and my my flag and my VAF patch. Anyway, let's continue. Next one that I've got for you is cycling the left multifunction display using the sensor select switch. This is something that a lot of people probably already know about, but it's so super duper handy that I think it's well worth mentioning again. And this is especially the case if you don't have the EHSD up on your left MPCD. So sensor select switch left by default will immediately make the EHSD appear on your left MPCD. Pressing sensor select switch left again will give you the decentered view, and then pressing it again will give you the EW page, and then you can press it again to go back. And you can cycle this as often as you need to. So EHSD, decentered, EW, back to EHSD. In my opinion, that's a top tip. Next, the other thing that I would draw your attention to while I've got the engines off is the fact that the buckets, the countermeasures buckets in the Harrier, can be changed. If we go into the knee board, you'll see that the standard is for us to have 60 chaff and 120 flares. Unlike other aircraft where you would tend to change the countermeasures loadout from the refuel and rearm page, you actually do it here on the knee board. You'll see that you've got controls for doing that, and they're labelled as cold. So very important, you must have the engine off. But for example, if we were going to go into an area where we knew there were going to be a bunch of radar SAMs, I could press right shift, right alt, and say 3 to swap that flare bucket for chaff. And I could press 4, and that would swap the top rear left and the top rear right into chaff. And you can see that's immediately represented on the EW page. We now have 120 chaff and just 60 flares. And as before, we can change the modes that we're dispensing these in using push buttons. So another top tip for you there, the ability to change your countermeasures dispensers using the knee board. I'm going to start up the engine and then I'll show you some more tips. Okay, so you join me in the air and just in time for my next top tip. This one is using the DMT to inspect your Sidewinder lock in order to visually identify a target. I've got an F4 up ahead here. Well, I already know it's an F4, but maybe I don't. I'm going to go air-to-air switch aft, and I've now got my Sidewinder in seam, and you'll see that straight away my DMT is looking exactly where my Sidewinder lock is. And that's a standard feature of the DMT. Let's break that lock just now. And actually, one thing we'll do, you're going to get an additional tip out of me, in that I'm going to show you how to reduce the volume of the Sidewinder tone. The little interior volume control here is also your Sidewinder volume control. Let's come out of active pause. So yeah, oh, actually, another thing you'll note, let's pause here. Notice that the DMT has blanked, and it has a little asterisk in the middle. That's because currently the light levels are too high. I'm pointing it towards the sun. I'm giving you guys so many tips today. So watch, as I maneuver away from the sun, image returns, and I'm now going to reacquire that aircraft. There he is, he's off to our front here. So yeah, note that you need to have the DMT on screen. So on my right MPCD now I've got the FLIR. and you can see that I've got him showing up on my hotspot indicator. If I go sensor select switch aft, I now have laser spot track. Go aft again, I now have TV, and if I now go ahead and get that lock again, you will note that the DMT is now focused on my track, and I can very clearly see that that's an F4. So if I wanted to, I could pull the trigger. Well, actually, I can't pull the trigger because I don't have Master Arm on. There you go, that's why it was flashing at me. I can now pull the trigger, and that's Sidewinder away. Let's see if I get a hit there. Boom! So, isn't that fancy? And then, nose wheel steering to break that lock. Actually, it's not letting me break the lock. And the DMT will go back to facing forwards again. And yeah, just to show you again, if I face towards the sun too much, DMT blanks, because it can be damaged by excessive sunlight. So, let's go ahead and return to nav mode, get rid of all that noise, and let's stabilize the aircraft here. And on to the next demonstration. Next demonstration is the TOO button. Now, you'll all be familiar with target of opportunity and the way it can be used to generate target points, basically. So normally you'd hit TOO and then just press enter. You would immediately get a target point for your current designation. Something that's less well known is the fact that if you don't have a current designation, you can see here designate is not boxed, and if I look up on my HUD, I don't have an arrow showing me the position to my currently designated target. I'm currently in an undesignated mode. If I was to press enter now, I would actually create a target point underneath my aircraft, immediately underneath my aircraft. Let's get that back to the centered view. However, I can also do this with waypoints. Now, this can be extremely useful in the event that you want to create a waypoint as a reference point. So I could press enter now. I've actually just, you can see it there, I've dropped waypoint 2 immediately underneath where my aircraft was when I pressed the button. That's the great thing about it. I can press this button and I can dither for a long time, and it doesn't matter what I'm doing after that. It's stored the position from when I pressed the button. So actually, let's demonstrate that. Let's go TOO. Let's accelerate time quite a bit so that we're quite far from where I originally pressed that. Let's go waypoint. Let's go enter. Note it's where it was when I pressed the button. Again, we have the option of doing this with mark points as well, and of course, as traditionally would be the case with target points. Note that if I did have a designation, then I can make waypoints or mark points on a designated point as well. This is super useful, and I've demonstrated in a previous video how to create mark points on waypoint offsets, thus storing those locations and allowing you to reuse that particular waypoint offset. So, last thing that I'm going to demonstrate, tip number 5 for today, is the ability to slew the location of a waypoint that you've created. I've dumped these waypoints behind me, but let's say that I want to actually reference something on the map here. So let's take, for example, waypoint 2, waypoint 1. Let's grab waypoint 2, go into data mode, press sensor select switch up, and you'll notice that we're now in INS mode. And I can now use the TDC slew to put this anywhere I want. And using the scale, I can actually make it quite accurate where I'm going to place it. So let's say that I wanted a waypoint on this outcropping here. I just slew it to there, and when it's where I want it to be, I just leave data. I leave data page. So I'm just going to get the scale down a little bit here. I'm going to select waypoint 3, and if I go back to the data page, well, actually it was waypoint 2, I can confirm that location is where I wanted it to be. And with waypoint 2 selected, let's just do that now, waypoint increment a couple of times, we will now find that we have heading and range information directly to that location. Let's cancel that warning. So let's just confirm that the waypoint is now where I wanted it to be. I clearly don't have the correct waypoint selected. What have I done? Oh wait, no, I do. I'm facing the wrong way. I thought I was facing Cyprus. I'm actually not facing Cyprus. I want to come all the way around to here. And that's now facing off towards Cyprus, which is where I wanted that particular point to be. I guess I could use scale Yeah, even at maximum scale, I can't actually reach that. But anyway, you get the idea. That would take me all the way to that outcropping on the island of Cyprus now. So those are my 5 top tips. The ability to cycle the left MPCD, the ability to adjust which buckets are loaded for countermeasures, DTC lock with the Sidewinder, target of opportunity for dropping waypoints and mark points, and using map slew to reposition waypoints. Thank you all very much for watching. If you haven't already, please subscribe, like, and comment. It's a really big help to me and to the channel. You also have the option of joining Deephack's ground crew if you want to support the channel even further. Big shout out to those of you who've already done so. Thank you very much, Harish Rajan, Leo Netzel, Byron Farrow, Storm Kambari, Channel Wright, Mangash, J.R. Walker, Chandler Hedgevald, Griff Nizzle, Mr. Yeti, Frantic Stone, Bread, Tier Zero, Erdink Ertan, Veli Tapani Korpikanas, Tiger Moto, and Pink Floyd. Thank you very much for watching. I'll see you all next time.